Well, hello and welcome to what is the 70th edition of the Adoption and Fostering Podcast with me, Al Coates, and...
me, Scott Casson-René, which is not pronounced Casson-René, just to be clear.
I felt like that was really...
Scott Casson-René. That's how you say
it.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah,
excellent.
See you, Jimmy.
Yeah, so Scott, how are you?
I'm very good, Al.
Yeah, but how are you really, Scott?
I'm very good, Al.
No, but really.
What are you digging for? Come on, spit it out. But you're normally a lot more direct than this.
But Scott, how are you really? This is me social working you.
Don't social work me. I've had enough of that in my life. Honestly, I don't need anymore.
But how are you really?
Are you just going to do this all night? Because people are just going to go, okay, that's a boring one, delete.
Yeah. But how are you really?
I am really well. And that's the last I'm going to answer that question. I'm really well. How are you, Al?
I don't know.
How are you really? How really are you?
Touche.
In fact, are you really Al? I don't know.
You can call me Al.
Yeah.
But you've got some news.
That's a song. That's a song.
It is a song, yeah.
Isn't it? It's worse than a song, yeah.
Yeah, no. No, stop.
Oh, yeah, we'll get it done for infringement using music and shit.
Yeah,
I just swore. Sorry.
Oh, crikey.
God. This is supposed to be our back to school podcast, new season,
Cass and Rennie.
We're starting
detention.
Go on. Yeah, exactly. Get out of my class. We'll come to that later.
Potty mouth.
Anyway, you were going to ask me something. Sorry.
Yeah, you've got. I'm aware that last time we recorded, you were on the brink of making a very big decision, and that decision has dropped.
I know it has, hasn't it? It's quite.
So tell us. Share with the group.
Well, I mean, I've already shared, really, but for anybody that doesn't know, I made the decision to leave Adoption UK after 5 years. And it's something that I've been thinking about for a while. And basically, yes, I resigned a month ago, and I announced, after it had been announced internally, because obviously it's only fair on colleagues that work there that they find out first. And we had a few bits and pieces to sort out first. So I'm leaving in 28 days, which Glitter Nails will take pleasure in doing a countdown, because she's already started it. I did kind of say to her, it sounds like you're glad I'm leaving.
Awkward silence in the office.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I got a lovely private message from her going, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it to come out like that. And I was like, no, I'm joking. I do have a sense of humour.
What date is that you leave? Because I'm aware that I'm not sure when this podcast goes out. So what date is that? No, I know.
So I leave on Wednesday, the 25th of September.
Ooh.
I know, on a Wednesday as well, which is quite bizarre, but it's just how the dates fell. It wasn't an easy decision. I don't think, well, actually, yeah. So just if I scroll back in history before,
yes,
before children kind of thing, I would always have a job to go to. It would never be a very tricky decision. You'd give a week's notice. It was a job. There wouldn't be too much decision making in it. It was a progression of career and all that sort of stuff. But actually, this is very different because, Gay Adoption Dad was a person before Adoption UK came along. I've been doing this but it's true in terms of who I am and what I was before Adoption UK. And I've been doing this for 13 years. I volunteered before I worked for Adoption UK. Adoption UK came along. At the same time, Jacob was placed. So, it's very much a massive part of my life, a huge part of my life. That's
a really odd way of saying Jacob was placed. It sounds like it's some sort of medical procedure.
Yeah. He was inserted at the same time as a chip for Adoption UK. He's orange branded as well.
Oh, bless him.
But it's just, my life story is very much, like Jacob was placed, and then I went back to working for Adoption UK, and it was a very specific role that I was doing back then. It was just for the East of England, and then, things happened, and I went on to be promoted twice, and, I've really kind of just made the most of those last 5 years, but Adoption UK, I wouldn't say it's changing, but it's going in a completely different direction because it's doing a lot more lobbying and all that sort of stuff, and that's great and that's fantastic. But I'm quite operational, so I like to do things, if that makes sense.
I mean, I'm not, as you know, I'm deeply
you
not.
don't even know what I've done for the last 5 years.
No, and they do say. I mean, I was thinking they do say you rise to your level of incompetence, don't you? Just being mean. But you've seen like a huge shift in their focus, which I think when you started, did they not have an adoption support agency? Were they registered when you started?
Yeah.
And that's all gone?
Yeah, they were,
Seen...
I mean, it's coming back.
It's
coming back. It's all with new. It's all coming back. Obviously, I mean, it's been announced. So I'm not saying anything I shouldn't be. The TESA, which is Therapeutic Educational Support something adoption. I don't know. Because I've switched off already.
Wow.
I've got 28 days to go. It's just no. TESA is a brand new service that they're going to be launching in all 4 nations, and they've just received national lottery fund. Well, not national funding, but an arm of the National Lottery has funded this to the tune of 4.7 million, I think. 3.7 million, sorry. And that's all kicking off now. And that's really it's an amazing service. I mean, I've been involved in some of it. I was there when it started. Tris was the project manager. There was no nepotism at all involved. He got that of his own merits to get this up and running. But you're right. When I first started, we were an adoption support agency, and that's what I did. I did the adoption support element. So, support groups and family days and all that sort of stuff.
But you were Ofsted registered, weren't you, as well?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Which is a big deal.
Again.
Wow,
it is.
That's quite a step then.
And England has changed, and I mean, any kind of adoption agencies who are listening will know that England has changed with the regionalisation programme.
Yes.
And the commissioning is very, very difficult, and all that sort of stuff. So, Adoption UK is changing. It is changing. It's not changing for the worse. It's changing for the better. And it's kind of a weird time to believe in, actually, because you think, well, I could be doing new things, but actually, I need to do different things for me.
It's been a lot of changes.
Years. Yeah, I'll be a week off 5 years, but I've agreed with with Sue, our CEO, that I can say I worked there for 5 years. I'm hoping she's going to give me a little certificate on my last day, saying just to certify that Scott did 5 years at Adoption UK. And it's not the end with Adoption UK. I'm leaving on very good terms. Adoption UK has been in me. I used to use the Adoption UK forums when the boys were first placed. I still have, I'm not going to tell you my username back then, but I still have people saying to me, "Are you this person?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know, I was so naive and so stupid back then." But but Adoption UK has been part of my life, and it will continue to be a part of my life. And it's just one of those things. You move on, don't you? It's very exciting. It's also very worrying because I'm not going to have a salary. Just a little thing. Just a teeny weeny little thing. But I think after 5 years, it's no secret that the adoption landscape has changed over those 5 years, and the money hasn't been there. And I've worked bloody hard. I was working 70 hours a week at one point to just provide what I'm very passionate about. So all those people who think that Adoption UK is for profit and all that sort of stuff, they really aren't. Everybody who works there is really passionate about what they do. I'm leaving on really good terms. I can't thank everybody enough. Whether it's Hugh Thornbury, the ex-CEO, who gave me the opportunity when he kind of took a chance on me, or Sue, who's current CEO, who's been really positive and given me some amazing kind of jobs to do. So yeah, there you go. That's my news.
Excellent. I mean, you were slipping into almost like a job interview there, weren't you, at one point? I'm being cheeky.
Yeah, you are. You've been very rude. 5 years of my life. And do you know what? I was going to mention you in that, because if it wasn't for Adoption UK, we wouldn't have met. So
that's not true.
That is true.
That is not true.
We knew each other over Twitter, but if they hadn't paid my expenses to go to the Adoption Support User Group, I would never met you.
All right, fair enough. Oh, the serendipity! Oh my God, it all hung on that moment.
And how much do I regret going to that meeting? Anyway, never mind. Yeah.
No, but I mean,
podcast, best man, speaking, public conferences, blah blah blah, whatever. Having to,
Yes.
put up with you.
World tour. No, I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, in 5 years of your life, it's 5 years of your life, and it's quite pivotal years of your life. And I think that
it is. Yeah.
I
think when you work something that you're passionate about, and you probably know this with the fostering stuff that you do. It's very difficult to give it up. It's very difficult to give up because it's something that you do because you're passionate about it. Yes, you get a wage at the end of the month. Of course you do, but would you do 70 hours for something? If you were in, I don't know, if you were
marketing,
going back to your draftsman days. Yeah, no, your draftsman days.
Not if I wasn't paid.
70 hours a week. Exactly. So that's the difference, isn't it? When you're passionate about it, it really takes over your life, and that's what I need a bit of a break from. So.
Yeah, I mean, I found that. No, that's fair enough, and I think that like even this stuff, it's all they just get really blurred. But it is, and I think that's one of the unique things about adoption, perhaps, is that there's a lot of people who work in the industry have personal connection. Yeah. And that's not always advertised. So I often meet people, and they'll, you'll meet them in a meeting, and then you discover that they are adopted, or they are adopters, or they. And their sister or brother's adopted. And I just think it's an interesting world to work in. And often I see on sort of Twitter, and I see people going, "Oh well, it's only adoptees and that should have a view." And I think, well, there's an awful lot of adoptees that have got their fingers in pies. Anywho, well, I'm interested to know. That, and whatever. So today, whatever. We're back to school. It's a new term. New start, fresh you, fresh me.
It is. Yes, I know.
New school pants.
Well, I've got my old ones on, but whatever floats your boat, mate.
Yeah, we've been raking Primark for clothes.
Yeah, I mean, we're recording on before the schools go back in England, but we have other schools that have gone back. So Scotland's gone back, Northern Ireland has gone back. The Republic of Ireland has gone back. So
I think the USA has gone back.
They have, yeah. I think they have as well.
Quarter of our downloads from the USA.
Exactly.
Hello, USA.
Hello, USA. And it's been interesting this year because, you put a question out earlier, which we'll come to in a minute, about how people are feeling about going back to school. And you didn't give them enough options, apparently. But
it provoked a response.
Yeah, it did. It got people talking anyway. But I think it's interesting this year because I'm in a bit of a different position where we've gone back to school in the Republic of Ireland now. I spend half my week in the UK and half my week in the Republic of Ireland. Mm-hmm. But Jacob's gone back to school already, and it's I haven't really talked about the new schooling arrangements as such. But when you go from someone who's got the maximum EHCP and pupil premium to actually someone who's got nothing in a brand new school where it's quite draconian, and it's and when I say draconian, that's just a phrase that we use in terms of the way they teach. They're not like monsters, but it's different. I'm using the word draconian, like I'm talking 1980s lessons. So, the 1980s lessons that we had, well, no, because you're from earlier than that, aren't you?
I went to school in the 80s. I was
You were at university, didn't you? Anyway, what I mean by that is, I'm saying draconian. In my head, that is draconian. But, 40-minute lessons, very short and sharp and all that sort of stuff. And it's very different. And we're on day 3 today. And we've been, I haven't, but Tris had to go and he had to go to a meeting at school this morning and meet one of the
talk them down. But do they have an equivalency of like an EHCP, or do they have a similar, like a system or kind of any provision for children who aren't what we would consider to be normal?
No, I mean, they have what you call a Senko. So they have the equivalent in each school, which is really good, and we have met with them. I think that it's been such a massive learning curve since May, because obviously I was really surprised to find out that CAMS is exactly the same, as in the service provision is called the same in the Republic of Ireland. Oh. I have to say, the service is way above what I expected to get.
But is that, do they have the same issues that we have in the sense that it's a postcode lottery?
No. Yes, they probably do, because I think that most of the so if you think about some of the counties in the Republic of Ireland, adoption is very rare. I will say that adoption is very rare in the Republic of Ireland. One social worker I spoke to, who's been in the same agency for 5 years, said she'd seen 3 adoptions in those 5 years in that agency, and they're a big agency, massive agency. They cover the whole of Ireland.
I guess culturally, the relationship with adoption is very.
It's not. I mean, it's very different. Yeah, it's very different. It's very different. I mean, it's not. What we talked about in the last episode, didn't we, about the Children Act generation coming through, and I think that will happen over there. And obviously, some laws have been changed recently in terms of abortion and things like that. I'm not comparing any of that, and I'm not relating it to adoption, but you can imagine how that might.
It's in the mix, isn't it?
Yeah. But what they do have a lot of over there is special guardians and long-term foster care, and adoption is kind of still kind of connected to the kind of past in terms of children
that historic.
Who are born exactly, and with religion and all that sort of stuff. So it is very different. But what I have found is that FASD is going to have a massive impact in Ireland very soon, because there's they have one of the highest FASD populations in Europe.
Question. Is that they actually don't, but they just have a better understanding, a better process, a better system for diagnosing and identifying, or is it
they have a much better process, and it's a lot. Yeah, it's just if you think it's there, then it's a referral straight away. Yeah,
which is the exact opposite of the UK, isn't it? Yeah. Which is if you think it's there and you shout and scream enough, you might, or
if you're willing to pay for it yourself, or whatever. And I think that it's some of it is cultural, as you'd expect. I mean, we're not saying that the people are doing it on purpose. It's just a cultural thing. But equally, there's a lot of the travelling community in Ireland who have a very similar kind of, not behaviours, but there's a very similar kind of they're akin to some of the children who may be perceived to have behavioural issues and all that sort of stuff. So I guess what I've found is that certainly with the school that we're dealing with, that they're a lot more open to. Well, actually, I say they're a lot more open. They're not used to parents going, "Hi, can we help you in any way? Can we give you this information?"
Yes.
And it's quite new to them, because they don't have, there's no local education authority that actually deals with school admissions. You actually apply to the school yourself, and if you're lucky enough to get into the school, I think there's in our county there's 340 children who didn't have an allocated school at the end of last week for high school.
So what happens to them?
I don't know. I'm going to find out in a few weeks, I guess. I've got my ear to the ground on that one.
Just the way it's.
But that's what I mean. It's very different, and
it's not comparable, isn't it? It's a different country.
No, exactly. And I would say that actually, there's a lot of stuff in the ROI that I would compare to. They don't. It's not that they don't like England or Scotland or Northern Ireland or Wales. Not about that at all. But you can imagine going back to the early 1900s, where there was a lot of political unrest and all that sort of stuff, and there's lots of stuff going on there. Actually, they probably akin themselves more to the American kind of style of systems in terms of just things that happen and things that go on. So it's very different. You're living just over a very small piece of sea, but actually it's just very different.
Yeah, and because we share language doesn't mean we share culture and stuff. And it's quite very European as well, isn't it? In its outlook, so it's not English, it's not British, it's not United Kingdom, it's not not comparable. Exactly. Well, that's really interesting.
We'll talk about. I mean, I'm sure there'll be more that comes up about that as we go on through the term. But so far they've been very open. So,
but I think the interesting thing you said at the beginning was about the number of adoptions, and I was thinking. I often think about places like New Zealand, which are very low, relatively known, not as low as that, but relatively known. Australia, which I think is there's an increase in adoption, but again, they're countries with quite dark histories around adoption.
And the same with Ireland, I would say.
Yeah. Having said that, the UK's got quite a dark history when you look at some of the 40s and 50s and 60s children shipped off to Australia.
Exactly.
But in the sense that those children are removed, those children grew up in Australia, and that's maybe why it's changed culture. Anyway, we're off point. So tell me what happened with the poll then. We asked I'll put the question up. We said, so it's back to school. So is back to school a blessed relief or a dreaded return for you parents, carers and guardians? And the drum roll.
What was the results of the poll?
Well, what did you say, Scott?
Well, if I could have said both, to be fair. But I did reply with, what was my reply actually? Blessed relief.
Blessed relief. Well, actually...
But then, to be fair, can I just... Please. Another little thing, little foible. I'm not going to just sit and talk about Ireland all night, but every holiday is the same except summer holiday. The summer holidays in Ireland are 3 months. So when you guys are doing your half term in May, we're finished for the summer until the last week in August. So
I put my head in my hands.
I know, exactly. So will I.
Is it just full of demented parents?
It must be. But to be fair, I think, I mean, they're used to it, aren't they? But I think the number of days they have to be in school in the ROI is less in the UK, and high school is less than primary school.
But that's the same in the US, isn't it?
Yeah,
they have 12 weeks.
Exactly.
So.
And that's what I'm saying. You know, there's a lot of comparisons there. But anyway,
isn't that born out of agriculture and need for children to work farms? Isn't that maybe that's just an urban myth that I've picked up from somewhere? But anyway,
I missed out on that.
Which night
you could have had him working on a farm.
You could have had him picking fruit or something. I don't know what I was going to say, potatoes, but that seems like a stereotype. But that's what we used to do when I was a kid. Did you used to have potato picking week when you were a kid?
Yes, we did.
Tatty picking week in October, wasn't it? Anyway.
Exactly, yeah. Anyway, but we did get a couple of kind of comments back as well, which was quite interesting. We got two that really kind of struck with me, but go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say the results actually were that 58, it was almost a bit Brexity. 58% said blessed relief, dreaded the return, said 42. So the blessed reliefs had it at 58. It's at least people think at least I get a couple of hours during the time. Oh, don't draw us onto the rocks.
Boris would be proud.
So tell me some responses.
I still live in Europe, so I'm all right. So
it's a pan-European podcast.
I work in euros and sterling these days, do you?
Excellent. You take all major credit cards just for for your future employers.
Anything for a euro. Anything for a euro.
I heard that rumour.
So options. Katie Trail. Hi, Katie Trail. She said there's an option missing here. Option 3, a big transition that will cause him much anxiety, a loss of the time with me. He has come to grave, and therefore a fallout on me that will leave me bruised. Okay, so option 2 covers it, doesn't it? Which I think is quite right, isn't it? Because I think when you've had that long a break, there is that kind of dependency that forms a little bit. Yeah. For some. And I think also as parents we kind of become dependent on them being there as well, because we want to protect them, and in actual fact the relief of not having to fight the school argument every day or week or whatever it's our break as well, isn't it? I mean, like you, the mornings I just love there's just so much more space in the mornings where you're not dashing around, which is great. So like, put your socks on, put your socks on, put your socks on. Put your socks on, and they've got their jacket and their bag on before they've even got socks on. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah. If they've even put socks on.
Yeah. I'm having flashbacks. It's all coming back to me.
Yeah. And if socks are your issue, then you've got problems, to be fair, because I'm sure there's bigger issues than that.
Bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, and then the other one that we got, and this struck with me actually, because this is how I used to feel, and I probably still feel a little bit like this now, but I think I felt it with Fraser and Brannon more than I do with Jacob. Rathika 27. I'm not going to try and even pronounce the name that's in there, but Rathika. She put, or option 3, neither. I find I have an unrealistic, in brackets, expectation and hope it will be a blessed relief so I can regain a sense of routine between work and childcare. But in reality, the transition is just mentally exhausting and emotionally draining for all. But I still live in hope. And I think that it was that last bit, but I still live in hope. And also the unrealistic expectations, because I think we all start off the new school year thinking, okay, they're a year older, they might be used to it, you know, all that sort of stuff. But I think we put a lot of pressure on. We don't actually say to the kids, "Now you're going to be good this year, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that." But I think we, in our heads, think, "Please, just maybe do it a little bit differently this year." And we try and lessen our expectations. But actually, when it comes to it, that first phone call that you see on the screen of your phone that says "school calling," you know, you kind of just go into, "Oh, okay."
Feels sick.
Okay, it's back. It's back.
Oh, I used to get email from school. And eventually, towards the end of the day, I said, "Will you just, if it's a good day, just don't tell me," because actually the anxiety of getting an email and opening it up, and it was like, you know, today's been a good day. Now going, yeah, but you've just the 30 seconds or the 3 seconds while I was trying to open the email was just traumatic for me. Stuart Guest, who is a head teacher, bear that in mind.
He is not. No, he is not. Is he?
Is he? Do we have any evidence of that? The man could be a charlatan.
I know. Well, to be fair, you know, he did his biggest outing was my conference.
Conference. Well, anyway, Stuart Guest said, a bit of both. The routine can be helpful, but often the added stress of friendships and schoolwork, along with the tiredness, can be a challenge. And also, the added challenge for mine is me going back to work after being around for 6 weeks.
Yeah, that must be really difficult if you're a teacher. Yeah.
So that everyone's changing, and obviously don't have the time or energy, or don't have the space. And I thought, wow, that's
Yeah. There was another one from Inspire Foundation's friend of the show, Jenny Jones, but we're not going to read that one out because it's self-promotion. She's just trying to promote her own business. Now we're not going to do that.
We stand very firmly on self-promotion. Is there any selves are going to be promoted around here? It's going to be ourselves.
But evening, Jenny, you're not going to mention any more than that.
Inspire Foundations, not getting mentioned at all.
Yeah. And there's a few comments about transitions to high school, so good luck to you guys, because we have been there. We do know, but we've blocked it all out, so we won't talk about that anymore. But just know that we know. And then adoption adventures. My bank balance will appreciate some free funded activities returning for sure. Yeah. So I think that's
Two Mad Dogs said, my younger two are looking forward to it. Who would have thought? Eldest off to uni, trying not to get too stressed. Me, that is. Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah. I know Two Mad Dogs, and I can understand that whole conversation, but she'll have the gin and she'll be fine. So
That's casting dispersions on people on Twitter.
It's not. I'm stating facts.
All right. Okay. So if you know it to be true, then you can defend that in a court of law. I do think it is a really. We come back to it again and again and again for children, not just adopted children who experience trauma, children who are not neurotypical, children who are just have had a wobbly start in life. School is just a massive issue, isn't it?
Yeah, it is massive. I think it's a massive issue for adoption, fostering, special guardians, kinship carers generally, isn't it? Because you know, at the end of the day, these children have had, you know, I was talking about ACEs last night on Twitter because Norman Lamb, who is responsible for North Norfolk, where I've been kind of connected to, he's standing down as MP, and you know, ACEs are. I don't want to reflect too much on them, but I think that those children have all experienced ACEs in some way, shape, or form, and that has an impact on their education. It's that simple.
Mean adverse childhood experiences?
Just
jargon, boy.
Yeah. Sorry. There you go. ACEs, adverse childhood experience.
Well, yeah, but the nuance is that it's the ACEs it's how those children were supported through those ACEs, because that's. Yeah. But I'm just being technical there. Mm-hmm. So school is a big deal, and we're back to school. We've got no massive transitions at the moment, so that's good. We're just going back into the. I'm trying to think. Oh no, Lottie's going up to. Lottie's very excited actually because she's going up to. Yeah, she is. She's going up from they've got a junior high school to the high school, and it means and it means she's allowed to dye her hair, and so she's literally literally,
she wet herself about
she's
that.
giddy, and she's just gone on and on and on about it. She's very excited and flicking her hair.
To be fair, because so the school years work differently over in Ireland. So Jacob's in second year, which is equivalent to the Scottish system actually, because I did my system like that. So we went primary 1 to 7, and then first year, second year, third year, fourth year.
Which is what we did when I was a kid.
There you go. And he was really excited when he went back because he gets to go out for lunch. He gets to go out of the school for lunch.
Oh, good grief.
I know. And we were like, oh, okay. So so we were just trying to work out the process for when we got the phone call to say Jacob hasn't come back from lunch, which will happen because, he's one of those daydreamers. But he did. I mean, on his first day, I said to him, what did you do for lunch? And he went, well, I went out. And I went, well, I guessed you would, but what did you do? And he went, well, I went to the Thai restaurant and I had... And he did. Do you know why he did it?
Why?
Because I'd said to him, on the walk home, here's some cash, get yourself an ice cream on the way home. Because he loves his ice cream. And one thing, I don't know why, but in the Republic of Ireland, every station or shop has an ice cream machine where you can get Miss Whippy, and he loves it. So I said to him, get an ice cream on the way home. And he actually justified it by saying, but in the Thai restaurant, if you buy your Thai meal, which he has superhero noodles, which are £6 or €6, you get a free ice cream. so he thought, I'll have my lunch and then I'll get the free ice cream. I mean,
you can't argue with that logic.
Down there for dance.
Yeah,
exactly. So
I just have visions of him, with dressed to the nines, having a haute cuisine every lunchtime while you're on pot noodles at home.
Yeah. I don't know where he gets it from. I really don't know where he gets it from.
I do. I know exactly where he gets it from. Bless him.
Anyway, sorry, I digressed there. But it was just when you mentioned about the hair colour.
No, so Lottie's going into... Well, she's in the same year, aren't they? Oh, they met over the summer, didn't they? That was all kinds of funny feelings in everyone's tummies. Yeah. She's going into year...
That's why we've not met since.
14. No, it's 12. 9. Yeah, 9. I have no idea. There's probably a sum you could do to work it out. Yes, that's exciting.
Hence all the chastity devices have been brought for when you're time. Anyway, go on.
Grief. Yes, my summer is solely focused around making my daughter wear shorts that are longer. That's the sole focus. That's all I've done. So we...
I could just imagine you. Oh my days, that is so funny. Just having this mental picture of you just tutting and shaking your head going, no.
Well, no. I wish it was as simple as that, but she's... I think it's probably a dance that's been done since the dawn of time. Daughters want to wear one thing and fathers want them to wear another thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's the first time I've done it with it. All my other girls have been kind of quite chilled out about that, but Rosa is... Oh, said her name. Oh, well,
yeah, you have.
The sky will fall on my head. Lottie will. She's just...
Lottie will do what Lottie will do, let's face it.
Oh, blimey. Don't even joke. Anyway, I'm going to move on because that's upsets me no end.
Don't.
So we've got a few bits of news and bits of gossip, so don't need to go on too long tonight. But hey, we were invited somewhere, weren't we, Scott? Together as a couple.
I know, our first time as a couple being invited somewhere. It was just amazing. We didn't have to actually leave the sofa.
That's just fantastic.
So basically, we were invited to go on Lisa Cherry's podcast.
Bless her.
And it was a first because, number one, unlike us, we don't have to look at anybody's faces.
Yeah, that was a bit scary. It was a vlogcast.
Yeah, so that was the first thing, because I had to put my lippy on, and I had to do my hair and all that sort of stuff. Just you never know. McDonald's might be watching, and I'm going to need a job shortly. So
I know. Have you noticed I've been sending you links?
Yes, I have. Yes, thank you, Al. Yes, and basically he's been sending me text messages with links to McDonald's jobs and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's. Just to be clear,
a job's a job.
A job is a job.
Job is a job.
So I've not applied for anything.
Anyway, get on with it.
Clever. So we were invited on to Lisa Podcast Cherries. Lisa Cherries. Oh dear. We were invited on, and to be fair, I didn't know. He's still giggling, but I'm just going to talk on anyway, so there's no silence. We didn't actually know what she was going to ask us. And I don't think she knew what she was going to ask us until we got there. But we did talk about social media, podcasting, and various different things. He's still giggling in the background, so I'm not sure if we're going to get any sense out of him. But basically, Lisa Cherry's podcast was it was different. It was very different, and it was our first outing as a couple.
I'm not sure I enjoyed it, to be honest with you. But I don't.
Why?
I don't know. I don't.
Because you had to talk about yourself.
No, it wasn't that. I don't know. I felt...
I know. Because you didn't have control over the questions.
Oh, you've cut me deep. Maybe you're probably right. Yeah,
but it's true.
There was,
and we did mention the that podcast. Well, you mentioned that podcast where you went all Axman.
Oh yeah,
the Mountain Barrow podcast.
The Barrow podcast. And I forgot that it was all being the Barrowcast.
Yeah,
filmed. But I just, if anyone can be bothered, watch the first 5 minutes, because I disappear under my desk because I was taking my socks off because I was, and I totally forgot that it was being videoed. So I was like, I
was trying to do this. I was trying to be all happy, and then there was a couple of times I looked at the screen and I went, "Oh, this has been recorded," and I've just made this stupid face, like because you were saying something, and I was like, "Oh, shut up, Al! For goodness' sake!" No, I wasn't quite like that, but
doing your jazz hands. Yeah.
But it was definitely an experience.
Yes, excellent.
And just to follow on from that, because you and I have joined a little podcast group, haven't we?
Yeah.
We're trying to work out how to do things better. But actually, we're doing it quite well compared to some.
It's a spectrum. It's a spectrum. We're on a spectrum.
But one thing I will say, when you've got people posting in this group, anybody who wants to come on my podcast, just send me a DM. No, I'm not doing that. I'm sorry. I'm not just randomly sending you my details to say, yes, I'll come on your podcast. Because when you scroll back and have a look at and see what their podcasts are about, and you think, okay, so why would you be talking about Area 51 in...
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So,
please, let's do it. Once a month, we'll go on a random podcast.
It would be quite funny, wouldn't it, to be fair?
Do it. Right, we'll do it. We'll put a link to it.
But it's interesting because I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands coming up. so we might find some changes happening along the podcast.
Oh, yes. Well, I was going to ask you one question, and probably because we've done half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever. Right, it's one question. Because I was thinking about things to talk about, and I've got lots of lists, but I was wanting to maybe get guests in and different people to speak on. I've got a few things I'd really like to talk about. I'd like to talk about matching for long-term foster care and adoption. I'd like to talk about confidentiality, which would lead us into maybe social media. But I was thinking about confidentiality, so I thought we could get someone on to talk about that, or we could talk about that and maybe get resolve some questions. But I was thinking, if you and I went out for a drink tonight, we went to a pub and we were saying, and we just had a chat, no agenda, and we just started to talk, what would we be talking about adoption tonight?
That's interesting, isn't it?
What are you talking to What are you talking to Triss about? What are you talking to your mates about?
Right now, it's about the kind of and I have my fingers in the air when I say independence of my older children.
Air quotes.
That's the biggest laugh going. And then obviously it's education at the minute because back to school.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting point actually, because if you take a specific place and time, what are you talking about? I'm this weekend, as an example, middle son is coming to Ireland, or going to Ireland.
Yeah. For
the first time since the wedding.
All right.
He has seen Jacob since then, and it's not always been the greatest of relationships. And he has admitted that he misses us and all that sort of stuff. And it's fabulous that he's coming. He's coming with his girlfriend. Amazing. Really looking forward to spending the weekend with him. But also in my head, I've got that kind of anxiety about them being together again, where it used to be all arguments and all that sort of stuff. So it's all kind of
complex. Sibling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but not sibling.
That's the thing, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, because legally siblings, but actually biologically not siblings at all. So it's that balance, isn't it? I mean, they're my sons, so to me they're my children, but to them there's obviously that kind of there's something kind of.
Oh, that's really interesting, because that came up today. Had a social work around, and we were talking about, like you have to have that conversation about, well, yeah, we've got 3 children, and they say, oh, they're brothers, and you go, well, yeah, they are brothers, but
well, yeah, exactly.
But they're not brothers. But that's how they would describe themselves, and that's the terms they would use. And so we had this conversation about my eldest daughter's child, and so the social worker was saying, "Oh, well, is she a sister? No, she's a she's no link, but she's their aunties and nieces and nephews." And you kind of go, "That's really odd." It's the view. What do my children actually think?
Yeah. And but it's not even about what they think. It's about what they feel they can say. Yeah. So we talked about this Children's Act generation. Yeah. And we are trying, where possible, to sit down and listen and hear them and all that sort of stuff. But actually, what can they verbalize? Do they feel they can? And that's difficult, because actually, if I said to the older 2 now, do you see him as brother or not? Would they feel brave enough to say, actually, no, we don't?
And what will happen when we're gone?
Exactly.
That's the minute you and Tris, or me and Paula kind of shuffle off this mortal coil. What will be left of this family that we made, that we sort of grafted together? Yeah,
exactly. It's so complex, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think as much as we've had quite a quiet summer. We have spent a long time speaking, and we've got Sophie, who you spoke to. And I spoke to Kat Teresa. Yeah. And it just continues to really challenge me in relation to what can my children actually say to me?
Yeah. And I think the last, I don't know how many months, but the last few months, I think, I'm going to just mention it, all the stuff that's happened on Twitter, on social media, actually, it has made an impact on everybody, I think, in various, it's a spectrum, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think that actually it has definitely opened my mind to what language you use, how our children may feel, the things that we should be speaking to them about. There's a full list there for me, an absolute full list. I perhaps might not like the way it's been done, as in some of the aggressive kind of behaviour that's behind it, because I haven't done anything. My family is my family. I haven't gone out and done whatever it is that other people have experienced. And don't get me wrong, I've got so much kind of empathy for them, and all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to go down that kind of route tonight. But what I'm saying is, it has opened my mind up to the way we think about adoption. It really, really has. And for that, they should be commended. And when I say they, I mean adoptees who've been very vocal on Twitter. And, I might not like the way you've done it, but I am listening. I am definitely listening. And it has made me a very different type of parent. Some of the language that I will still use is, they are my children, because they are my children. But I also recognise that they are someone else's children as well.
Yeah.
And even thinking about birth families and all that sort of stuff, that's all come to the front of my head. It's been a mind-numbing. I was going to say a swear word there, but you can imagine what I was going to say, a mind F, because it has been. Because actually, we've not heard these voices before. Because our children wouldn't say that to us. Because it's not that they're not brave enough, it's just that they don't have the confidence yet, because they're still quite young. But these people have found their voice, and whether it's on social media behind a profile that actually may not be the same name or the same picture or whatever, doesn't matter. I'm still listening, and I think that is really key. I get what they're trying to say, and that's really important. That's been really important to me over the summer. I think that's the value in that is just
I feel slightly differently.
I know you do. I
I think that you're right, that they've made us all ask. Hopefully, they've made us all ask a question of ourselves, which is good.
Yeah.
Needless to say, though, some of it is just plain trolling.
Some of it is, yeah. I'll agree with that. I will agree with that. Yeah. I didn't want to use that word because I don't want to label them with that troll word. And it's a bit like the tone policing word. Nobody, define it. Show me in a dictionary what tone policing means. Nobody's tone policing. We all have our own ideas and our own,
I feel comfortable because I don't think I do tone police, but I've been accused of all sorts. But
no.
But then I will content. I won't accept content that's abusive.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really complicated dynamic.
Yes.
But the good thing is that we're all asking the questions, and I think it made us, because the whole thing with the adoptee voice, the adoptee conversations we've been having, we were wanting to do that, but I think it provoked us to kind of say, let's just do it. Because we talked about it for a year for a whole host of reasons and done it. So I think that's the good thing, and I think that's probably the main thing that's rattling around my head is how to make sense of that and return Twitter to a sense of a healthier normal.
Yeah.
A healthier normal. I don't want us to return to what we were, but I think we need to. No. It needs to remain a safe place.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, we've all got our thoughts and our ideas and our opinions and all that sort of stuff, and that's all fine. I get all that, I really do. But actually, as a community, we're kind of a 3 or 4 sided community, aren't we?
Yeah.
And probably more than that, actually. So birth parents, foster carers, adoptees, adoptive parents, and extended families and all that sort of stuff.
Siblings, actually, we've got siblings in there and all sorts.
And why can't it? From the start, I've always said, from the first day I met you, that I just don't see why we all can't come together as a community when we're ready, because obviously everybody is in different places, and try and improve the system from the ground up. But nobody is in a position to be able to do that because there's so much, there's different narratives, there's different complexities, etc., etc. But actually, if we use the anger to actually, do something productive with it, we could all do it,
Yeah, I think, I feel quite, I've been on holiday, so I had an existential crisis, which is about 5 days into every holiday I ever have. I have an existential crisis after I finally stopped doing things.
I remember last year's,
and I kind of really had to think long and hard about what I want to do, and where do I fit into all that? Because I've got aspirations. But anyway, we're getting deep. We're getting into actual feelings, aren't we? Heavens to Betsy. But that's good. That's something that's not going away. But I think it's I think there's lots of things I'd like. I think we'd like the podcast to move into those more murky areas, as well as continuing some of the more mainstream stuff. Yeah,
and that's the thing, the adoptee conversation, and I get fed up with people thinking that this is a money-making project. The podcast we do, it started off as a hobby, and it still is a hobby that we love doing. We love doing, and we mentioned it on Lisa Cherry's, didn't we? Because this time last year we were debating whether we would keep it going, and we said as long as people listen, we will keep it going. But we do it in our own time. We don't make it. There is no fun. There is no funds for this.
No.
All right. And I get fed up with people thinking that we're doing it for our own gain. We are not doing it for our own gain. We have. Well, you actually set up a podcast. I was the first guest, and you went, actually, that went really well, so let's do it together. And that's where it's come from. And as things have gone on, we've recognised what people have asked for. We've listened to the feedback. We're hearing people, and we're giving people what they want to hear, because actually we have that platform to be able to do it. It's not about recognition. All right, we have a bit of banter, and people think, okay, the Adoption and Fostering podcast, that's it. But that's as far as it goes. There is no, I don't get a bloody wage from this. I get fed up with people that think I do, because I don't.
Do they?
Oh, I'm going ranty now.
Do they?
Yeah, some people do think we get paid for this. Yes. I'm
really?
not telling you who, because you'd be disappointed to hear it. Yeah.
Really?
I'm not giving you any names. Yes.
Oh, that's what I
don't know where that comes from.
I like to think that we're just keen amateurs. I like that idea, but the benefit is that we can do what we want.
Well, exactly. That's why I'll never be paid for it, because as soon as I get paid, I have to tone police myself.
Yeah, but if and looking at listeners, our listeners have grown by 300% in the last year.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
because we're listening.
There's now 6.
We are listening to our listeners. Exactly. Oh, excuse me.
And Emma Mortimer always gives me some fantastic feedback. Anyway, I think we've prattled on and we've got into the dark, into the rough.
Yeah. But can I just mention one thing,
please,
before you conclude tonight's proceedings? I have to give a little mention. I've got to mention someone who's a little bit special to me. So my goddaughter, I was with her tonight, and I said, "Oh no, I'm sorry, darling, I've got to go home because I need to record a podcast with Al, who you met at the wedding, because you met my goddaughter at the wedding. She did the candle thing." That's my goddaughter. Yeah?
No recollection of that. No.
Yeah, you were too focused on your speech.
Yes.
Anyway, she said, "What's a podcast?" So I explained to her what a podcast was, and then I explained to her what it was about and stuff. And she said, "I never knew you did that." So I said I'd mention her tonight. So Ellie, who will be listening at some point, because she's got it on her phone. She's got it on her phone. She's ready to rock and roll. She's going to listen to episodes 1 and 2 because I said they were the most rubbish ones that we did.
I can agree with you there.
Yeah. But we did listen to a little bit of one. So Naomi, Glenn and Ellie are going to be listening to this now. So I just wanted to say hello to her because she's only 12. And she was born.
Oh, I do remember then.
Yes.
I was thinking grown up.
No. So Ellie was born on the day that Tris and I were approved. And Naomi rung me. So Ellie's mum, Naomi, rung me and said, "How did you get on?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, we got approved. Yay." We're in B&Q buying a door for feeling a bit flat because we still ain't got kids, because this was like nearly 13 years ago. And of course, different times. And I said, "What are you up to?" And she went, "I've just had the baby."
The baby?
Yeah, she was on the hospital bed. She just had Ellie. And then fast forward, we're where we are. But when Ellie's christening was in the first week of the boys being placed, and the social workers told us not to take them. And we're godparents. We have to go, so we had no choice. Anyway, the vicar said, "Don't worry." She said, "This church has been standing for 300 years. Them two aren't going to make any difference," because we were worried about them knocking over candles. We'd been parents for a week.
I understand.
So that's why I said I mentioned Ellie, because obviously there's a little bit of a journey related to there, and she's just finding out what podcasts are at the age of nearly 13. So there you go. Hi, Ellie.
Down with the kids, bless her.
I know, she is, bless her. Anyway, sorry.
No, that's all cool. Okay, then, well, hiya, Ellie.
Tatty bye.
Tatty bye, Ellie. That's the end of that then. And we'll speak soon, and we'll get this out. And we keep threatening to get Sally Donovan, but she's she's a slippery fish, isn't she, Sally Donovan?
I'll tell you what, she's like a fish in a bucket. You can't get her. You just can't get her. You can't get your hands on her.
No.
So busy. I think it's this new book. She's off around the world in this book. I think
living large.
Is she in Australia or something? I don't know.
Probably.
Yeah.
Saint-Tropez.
Yeah, probably. But to all parents who are going back to school, good luck.
Yes.
Deep breaths.
Yeah.
Deep breaths. Lots of gin, or whatever it is that you know. That makes you happy.
Yeah. Stay well.
Mark or Aldi. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And what's the worst that can happen? No, don't think what's the worst can happen.
No, don't do that. Just don't go there. All right, let's not panic her.
Okay then. Well, I'll see you soon.
Bye then.
Bye. Bon Jovi.
Tatty bye.
Silly boy.